Hello, this is Ward Bryson coming to you from Health Education at the Athens City County Health Department. You are listening to episode 3 of our Healthy Holidays series, where I meet with other folks serving in our community and we share healthy, plant-based recipes for your table during the holidays. Today, I am joined by my fellow service member, Bailey Plumley. Bailey, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. I am Bailey Plumley, as Ward just said. I am also a Common Core member like Ward, although I am placed in Athens City Schools, where I serve under the school nurses there, doing an array of health-related initiatives within the district. Specifically in the context of food for this podcast, I do a lot of the planning and operating of the food pantry that Athens City Schools, and specifically the nurses and I, operate. That happens on the third Wednesday of every month. Open to absolutely anyone who wants to come and pick up food, and it's at the central office building in Chauncey.
That's great, Bailey. Thanks for telling us about that. So today, the two of us prepared a couple of different pumpkin recipes. This is our pumpkin episode, and it also happens to be a bit of a dessert episode. We prepared 2 desserts, one hot, one cold, a pumpkin pie with some not-so-classic ingredients, and an ice cream, actually, made with bananas and pumpkins. Bailey, do you cook often, cook irregularly? How often do you bake? What's your experience level with this sort of thing?
I don't bake very much at all. I have done it with family, I guess, back home, but I'm not much of a baker. I do cook from time to time. I like to cook. I guess it's just a time and money and energy thing. I don't do it all the time. I like to cook when I'm having some kind of... I've many times cooked for like a group of people. If I have friends or family coming over, I love to sort of go get a bunch of ingredients and make something nice for everyone.
Okay, so you have no trouble cooking when pressed, but
Completely.
you're not necessarily acquainted with everything we've done today as intimately.
Yeah. I'm not someone who is cooking outside of something very, very simple, like every week or anything like that, but I do it semi-regularly, I'd say.
Okay. And aside from the fact that we ran into a couple of roadblocks today, how difficult would you say these 2 recipes were?
They're not difficult. Particularly if you have a practiced hand. I would say neither of them are difficult at all.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to go to those recipes. Like I said, one is a pie. So that is our Plant Strong pumpkin pie. The ingredient list is extremely short. All it has is a package of firm silken tofu. That is very important. Firm silken tofu. And you can find that at Kroger. You can find that at Kindred. You could find that at the pharmacy. Probably a couple of other groceries around town, but those are the places that I'd seen them. And that's actually shelf-stable tofu, so you won't find that refrigerated. That's just a little hint to finding it in the aisle. And then additionally to that, there is 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin, a half cup of maple syrup, 4 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. That's it, just 4 ingredients. And when you're making this, you're going to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. You're going to blend your tofu and pumpkin with an immersion blender or a food processor. We used an immersion blender. And then you're going to add your maple syrup and pie spice, and you're going to mix well. Once you do all that, you're going to pour that into your pie pan with your crust, and you're going to cook that at 425 for 30 minutes. Turn it down to 400 degrees Fahrenheit after 30 minutes, and bake for an additional 30 minutes. And once you're done, you're going to refrigerate until firm and ready to serve. That is one step that we skipped for a moment before returning it to the fridge. And then our other recipe, the ice cream, that is a pumpkin banana ice cream. And really, there's no cream in it at all. You're just making use of a half cup of pumpkin puree, 3 frozen bananas, a half teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, or we used pumpkin pie spice. So similar profiles, but the hot and cold really makes these very different dishes. And in our case, we did run to a bit of a kerfuffle blending. We tried to run our ice cream in just your standard a household blender, no Vitamix, no immersion blender on that one. And we really probably should have cut our frozen bananas down to a smaller size. I think that would have worked. Do you think?
Yeah. The size, and then also sort of being aware of the level that your blender of choice operates at. Some blenders can really handle just about anything, others can't. And frozen bananas are actually quite a beast, I'd say. So,
Well, they are just, you need some moisture, and in the case of this, you don't want to water down your ice cream too much. So either break them up a little bit more beforehand, or just use a heavy-duty blender or food processor, something that can really chop those up. In the end, though, everything worked out for us. I would say, well, Bailey, what was your favorite of the two dishes?
the pumpkin pie.
The pumpkin pie. You can't beat pumpkin pie. I think I agree there. The ice cream is good. It is a much more subdued flavor. It's also a lot more banana-y.
Yeah, which is unavoidable with bananas being what they are.
But, I like bananas.
I do too.
So, and you wouldn't think of banana and pumpkin as a combo, I don't think, either. I don't know, would you?
No.
But they go really well. I almost wondered if you add a little bit of a pineapple and it take it to a more tropical angle. I don't think Bailey agreed with that.
Pumpkins aren't very tropical, though, are they?
No, but the bananas are. That's the
True.
point. But maybe that takes it away from the kind of holiday theme that we're getting here.
Pineapple and sweet potato is good together, though, and pumpkins are kind of similar in flavor.
I agree.
Sweet potatoes, so.
I agree. So jury's out on whether or not you can include pineapple or another tropical fruit, but maybe.
Try it.
Maybe try it. Yeah, give it a spin. I would also like to note that now that you've mentioned sweet potatoes, that while this is our pumpkin episode and it has turned into more of a dessert episode, that pumpkins are not exclusively for dessert. I feel like a lot of the things that we make are very desserty or sweet with pumpkin, but like pumpkin is just as usable as any squash for a savory recipe.
Completely, yeah.
Do you have any experience like with that?
Yeah, I love pumpkin ravioli. I have encountered people who have never had that, never heard of it, think it sounds crazy. But I also know some other people who love it. It's very good.
We are actually considering a sweet potato ravioli if we end up doing a sweet potato episode on this series. So
I'm sure it would be delicious.
You just baking that and then kind of making that into a filling, pureeing that, putting that into ravioli?
Yes, that would be the general process. The one I had, it was already sort of like pre-prepared into the ravioli, so I didn't get to sort of look at the process of making the raviolis.
Got it.
But I'm sure it would be the same as making any other kind of ravioli. It's just the filling you use. And then the big thing is, of course, what like sort of sauce you use, because obviously you're not going to... I mean, I suppose you could, but generally you wouldn't be putting...
Tomato sauce.
Yeah, just like marinara or like meat sauce or something on pumpkin ravioli.
Maybe like a white sauce or something.
Yeah, white sauce or maybe something, oilier or like buttery. There are even some...
Vegan buttery.
Vegan buttery, yes, or anything in that family. There are even some pumpkin ravioli recipes I've seen that kind of lean into other pumpkin dishes. Like I know that there are some pumpkin raviolis that have a sauce that is maybe has some kind of like spice in it, or like even like pecans or nuts. So still not like straight up dessert, but sort of utilizing the familiar pumpkin fixings.
Kind of that sweet side territory that like sweet potato casserole inhabits.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay. Well, sorry for that aside. We can go back talking about our recipes today, but we do want you to know you can and you should use pumpkins for lots of things on your holiday table. I will actually walk us back to our pie. It is both of our favorite dishes of the day, I would say. It's a pumpkin pie. Like, I think for some people the block of tofu in it might turn you off.
Yes,
but
such as me, for example. I was a skeptic initially. But you really, it's completely absorbed by the pumpkin. Like, you don't think, oh, what's wrong with this pumpkin pie? Or this tastes like tofu. It's just like, oh, this is a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, there's no soy flavor. The texture is exactly what you want it to be for a pie. Nothing off, really. So you may ask, like, what this gets you. But, like, tofu is very good for you. It's very high in protein. It's very healthy proteins. And it's great for that consistency of the pie. Again... You want to make sure that you get the silken firm. The variety of tofu is important. If you're just getting your firm tofu block out of like the cold aisle in Kroger, you're going to probably get a lot of tofu chunks and like that very like grainy texture in your pie. And that's not what we want. That doesn't sound good to you, does it, Bailey?
No.
So avoiding that, you just make sure that you get the right block of tofu. You blend up your pie nice and smooth. You just go ahead and bake that. If anything, I think we would have gone maybe a little bit heavier on the spice. I don't know. That's just me, though. I tend to go heavy on all sorts of seasonings. You may have noticed in our first episode, I said everything to taste. And since we've tried to roll that back a little bit. But that is the way that I cook. Speaking of flavor, though, I will say, unlike our mushroom episode, where we kind of warned against preparing both dishes for the same meal, I do think that this ice cream and this pie would work very well together. We kind of ate it that way, and I liked it a lot.
If you're someone that's really down with pumpkin, I would say so.
Oh, so do you think this could be polarizing for someone that's just lukewarm on pumpkin?
Perhaps. I think it's just a lot of pumpkin, and they also, like, despite the presence of the bananas, they are not dramatically different in flavor profile.
Yes.
So in the vein of, creating some kind of contrasts in terms of the flavor, like having some kind of vanilla, creamy something with pumpkin pie, like whipped cream, ice cream, things like that. It's a bit more, I guess, redundant, but definitely will hit the spot for anyone that's really into pumpkin.
Okay, so you'd pair the pie very classically with some like
Probably
vanilla ice cream substitute.
Yeah, and then have the pumpkin ice cream at another time, perhaps an hour later. But
So in your ideal world, what do you pair the ice cream with then?
Oh God, I don't know. Oh, well, something that could be good would be maybe something in the same vein that plays up the other flavor profile. So like some kind of like spice cake, perhaps it would be good with.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that would taste good.
I was almost wondering if something like a little bit tart, like maybe like a blackberry cobbler, could draw out the sweet, because it's very sweet ice cream. Even though it's somewhat subtle, but I just think the coldness of that with like a hot cobbler or
you could have a hot piece of
spice cake. You're right.
Like a fresh piece of spice cake. Dollop that on there.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We'll have to try that. So our listeners who watched the first 2 episodes know we had Rhea on twice. Maybe we can have you on again, do pumpkin episode part 2, and we'll throw a spice cake right in there.
Absolutely.
Well, Bailey, it has been great to have you with us today.
Thank you being here.
I know you're busy and you have to go back and do all sorts of things, helping out at the schools. I know you're busy gearing up for the pantry next week, actually.
Yes, it's a big one.
So good luck on all of that. I'll be there helping out.
I appreciate that.
Thanks again for talking with me and for cooking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Please try out all these recipes. Try and remix it, like we said. Pair things up. We hope that it goes well for you, and we hope that you have a happy holidays.